A stepmother tells all.
Why did he put Harmony in the freezer at the Portland Pie Pizza Company?
Because he said that if she's in the freezer, there wouldn't be any fluids or anything leaking.
The estranged wife of a New Hampshire man on trial for murdering his 5-year-old daughter shared gruesome testimony about the extreme lengths taken to hide her body. Kayla Montgomery spent 2 days on the witness stand testifying for the state and against her husband, Adam Montgomery. Despite waiving his right to appear in court, Adam Montgomery is on trial, charged with second-degree murder for the death of his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony. Harmony was reported missing in November 2021, nearly 2 years after officials say she was killed. To this day, her body has yet to be found. While on the stand, Kayla painted a picture for the jury about their shared home life. Kayla and Adam were living together at the time of Harmony's murder.
Kayla, you referred to Harmony Montgomery just now. How do you know her?
She's Adam's daughter, and we started a year after we got together. He was working on getting custody of her, and he had to work to get custody of her. He wasn't just given her, and it took 4 years to get custody of her. And during those 4 years, we both visited her each week for a couple hours.
Was she your stepdaughter?
Yes.
Showing this witness what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 98 for identification. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
Who's depicted in this image?
Harmony and myself.
And can you point to Harmony? And is there a date associated with this image?
Yes, July 7th, 2019.
The family was later evicted, which made them resort to living inside of a car.
Kayla, why were you evicted from the home?
Because the mortgage wasn't getting paid.
And after you were evicted, where did you begin living?
In our car.
What kind of vehicle was it?
A Chrysler Sebring.
When you began living in that car, who were you with?
It was myself and Adam, Harmony, and the 2 boys.
Where were you sleeping during that period?
In the car.
Where would you keep the car?
Behind Colonial Village in Manchester.
Why Colonial Village?
Because that's where our friend lived.
What was your friend's name?
Anthony Bodero.
Did you tell Mr. Bodero that you were living there in that parking lot?
He asked us not to, but yes.
And so, can you just describe this sleeping arrangement in that vehicle for you and your family at the time?
So, Adam would sleep in the driver's seat. I slept in the passenger seat. And Harmony was behind the passenger seat. And the baby, Declan, was in the middle, and Seamus was behind the driver's seat.
Prosecutors say Adam, in a fit of rage over bathroom accidents, punched Harmony multiple times. Kayla testified they were all in the car when Adam struck Harmony.
Kayla, I asked you earlier about whether Harmony was potty trained when you got custody of her. And I believe you said she was.
Yes.
Did that change at some point after the eviction?
Yes.
And tell the jury about that. What happened to Harmony?
She wouldn't let us know when she had to use the bathroom. And so she was peeing in the car, just in her seat that she was sitting in. And she wouldn't tell us that she had to use the bathroom.
Was she only peeing, or was she having other accidents at the time?
She was also pooping.
How frequently was this occurring for Harmony?
A lot. Like, at least every day.
And did those accidents, did they increase in frequency the longer you were in that car?
Yes.
How was the defendant responding when she had these accidents?
Getting angry.
Would he do anything physically to her when she had accidents?
Yeah, he would smack her.
And what does that mean, that he would smack her?
He would smack her in the face, or on her leg, or in her hand.
Were these soft smacks,
No.
hard smacks, or something else?
They were like hurt, stung smacks.
What makes you say hurt, stung smacks?
Because she would cry during, like, whenever she got smacked by him, and I could hear it, and it sounds like it hurt.
I'm sorry, you could hear the crying or you could hear the smack?
Smack and the crying.
When you say she was crying, who's she?
Harmony.
Then she went on to reveal more shocking and disturbing details.
Those strikes, were they manifesting in any way on Harmony?
Yes.
How were they manifesting on her?
The more accidents she had, the more he would get angry, and he would hit her repetitively.
Was the defendant causing visible injuries to Harmony?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
And tell us about those injuries.
When he would hit her, she started getting black eyes and bruises on her face, on her legs. Yeah.
Did you ever see her bleed as a result of being struck by him?
No, I didn't see that.
Did you ever see the defendant attempt to cover Harmony?
Yes.
And can you tell the jurors how he did that?
He would cover her with the comforter that we had in the car
Why would he cover her?
so nobody could see her.
How often would he cover Harmony?
All the time. Anytime that we had interference with anybody, no matter who it was.
Was this only when you went out in public, or was it when you were still in that parking lot, or both?
Both.
I want to turn your attention to December 7th of 2019.
Yeah.
Does that day stand out to you?
Yes.
Why?
This is the date that Harmony passed away.
The day that Harmony passed away?
Yeah.
Were you still living in the car at that point?
Yes.
Were you still sleeping in the Colonial Village parking lot?
Yes.
You mentioned Harmony having accidents and then becoming more frequent at that point. On December 7th, was she still having those accidents?
Yes.
And had they increased in frequency?
Yes.
Did Harmony have an accident first thing in the morning?
Yes.
And that would have been before you started your day?
Yes.
What happened when she had that accident?
Adam repetitively kept punching her in the head.
Okay. So I want to break that up. That morning, where did you wake up?
At Colonial Village.
And what happened first thing in the morning that morning?
We went to the methadone clinic.
And before you left for the methadone clinic, did Harmony have an accident?
Yes.
And what did the defendant do before you went to the methadone clinic? What did the defendant do to Harmony after that accident?
He was yelling and screaming at her and punching her in the head.
How did she react to that?
She was crying.
You mentioned the methadone clinic. Was that Habit Opco?
Yes.
And what did you do at the methadone clinic that morning?
Got my dose of methadone, and Adam got his also.
And do you remember who went in first?
No, I don't remember who went first.
And Kayla, I want you to walk the jurors through in as much detail as you can what happened on your route from Habit Opco to that Burger King.
Adam was getting really angry from Harmony peeing in the car, and he repetitively kept punching her on the way to Burger King, and there were a couple red lights, and when we were at red lights, he would go over the driver's seat, in between the passenger seat, and he was just punching her repetitively in the head.
And you've said there were several times where he punched her repetitively in the head.
Yes.
How many times did he hit her?
I can't count. I don't know.
Were you counting?
No, I wasn't.
How many lights did that car come to where he repetitively struck her?
At least 2 or 3.
Between Habit Opco and the Burger King, did the defendant say anything to Harmony?
Told her to shut the fuck up. Stop crying.
Kayla says after the beating, Harmony began to make noises that were chilling.
You said she was making a weird noise.
Yes.
Can you describe it?
It was like, I can't even describe it. It was like a moaning kind of noise, but crying. It was just weird. I can't explain it.
Did you try to help Harmony while he was striking her?
Yes.
Tell the jurors what you did to try to help.
I put my arm up and said to stop, but he looked at me and he gave me this look that was like evil. His crazy eyes. I didn't like it, and I couldn't stop him from hitting her, because the look that he gave me was scary. I was scared.
What were you feeling when he looked at you like that?
Like he was either gonna hit me or just, I don't know. It was weird.
That moaning, did it eventually stop?
Yes.
Did you check on Harmony at any point after the moaning stopped?
No.
Did Adam?
No.
Why didn't you check on her?
Because I was scared.
And instead of checking on the young girl, the couple went to buy drugs as Harmony was dying.
When you arrived at the Colonial Village parking lot, when you arrived back there, what did you and the defendant do?
We got drugs and got high.
When you say we got drugs and got high, what drugs did you get, Kayla?
Heroin and crack.
And how long did you use those drugs for in that parking lot?
We were there for probably 10 or 15 minutes.
Where did you go from the Colonial Village parking lot?
I don't remember where we were going, but I know we left.
You left at some point.
Yes.
And what happened when you left the parking lot?
We made it to the next street over, going towards Elm Street, and the car died when we got to the traffic light, and it wouldn't start or anything, and so we were stuck without a vehicle.
What was the defendant doing when the car died?
He was trying to get a jump, and there was no jumping the vehicle, and so we ended up having to leave it. And when we were getting out of the car and getting the kids out of the car, Harmony had passed away.
But when it came time to hiding her body, Kayla says Adam went to extreme lengths to cover up what he had done.
You mentioned this duffel bag from the trunk.
Yeah.
Had you seen that duffel bag before, Kayla? What was it used
Yes.
for?
When we got kicked out of the house, we put clothes in there for everybody. And it was in the trunk of the car.
Did you see him put Harmony in that duffel bag?
Yes.
How did he put her in there, Kayla?
He folded her in half and put her in the double bag.
And it wasn't just in the trunk of the car where he hid her body. She testified Adam hid Harmony's body under porches, in coolers, and even in a trash bag.
So the defendant put Harmony into garbage bags, and he squished her into a bag like this one?
Yes.
And this again was at the Families in Transition shelter.
Yes.
Where did he do that to her?
In the bathroom of the room that we stayed in.
Were you in the bathroom with him when he did that?
No.
Did you hear anything when he was doing that to her in the bathroom?
I heard a loud bang.
Could you see what was going on in there?
No.
You mentioned the defendant stuffing Harmony into the duffel bag
Yes.
at that intersection in the car died.
Yes.
And then you mentioned him squishing her into this bag.
Yes.
Did she fill that bag, that CMC bag that you just saw?
Yes.
Her body filled that bag?
Yes.
Kayla said Adam went to more sinister lengths to conceal his own daughter's murder, telling the jurors that he also used household items like limes to conceal her rotting remains.
And what did he do with the bag after he put her in there?
He put her back in the ceiling.
You mentioned being at the Families in Transition shelter for a month and a half.
Yes.
During that time, did the defendant begin discussing disposing of Harmony, getting rid of her body?
No.
At some point, did he begin discussing disposing of Harmony, getting rid of her body?
Yes.
And what was his plan? What was his idea for getting rid of her?
To use lime. And dismember her.
At any point, did you see him remove Harmony's body from the bathtub?
No.
You mentioned earlier that he put Harmony's body back into the CMC bag.
Yes.
How do you know that he did that?
Because he put the bag back in the freezer after.
You mentioned garbage bags.
Yes.
What was he doing with the garbage bags in that bathroom?
He had the big garbage bags put in the CMC bag. And it had the lime in the bag.
And that clothing that you mentioned? You used scissors to cut off her clothing?
Yes.
What happened to her clothing? What happened to Harmony's clothes?
It was put in a trash bag.
Was anything else put into that trash bag with her, or with the clothes?
Not that the duffel bag.
So you saw the duffel bag again after the fit shelter.
Yes.
And that trash bag that the duffel bag went into, that the clothes went into, what happened to that trash bag?
I don't know.
Did the defendant tell you what he planned to do with that trash bag?
Throw them away.
Did he tell you specifically where he was going to throw it away?
He just said he wasn't going to leave them in our trash area. He was going to bring them somewhere.
Did he say why he wasn't going to leave them in your trash?
So that there's no evidence.
Kayla admitted she never called 911 because she feared for her life. When it came time for her cross-examination, Adam's lawyers hammered on Kayla for her false statements that sent her to prison.
You said the last time you saw Harmony, she was happy. Yes.
And you had no problem with that lie to the grand jury, right?
Right.
And the last time you saw Harmony, you thought she was asleep, but she was dead.
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that happened at the grand jury was you were talking about some of the things that the family did after eviction, right?
Yes.
And you talked about going to Colonial Village, right?
Yes.
And Colonial Village is what you've talked about on direct, pretty much where you kind of camped out during the weeks before you went to your mom's.
Yes.
And I think you told the grand jury that you went to your mom's around the 11th.
Yes.
And that seems about right?
Yeah, it was the beginning of December.
The 11th?
Like the beginning of the month of December.
Okay, well,
I call that the beginning. Sorry.
you'd been in the car for a couple of weeks before going to your mom's, right?
Right.
So, you told them that your car had died and you slept in the car of your friend Anthony Badero for a weekend,
Yes.
and it was sometime after that that you went to your mom's.
Yes.
And you told them that Badero saw Harmony every day while living at the Colonial for that couple of weeks, right?
Yes.
And that was a slip-up, right?
I don't remember.
On day 2 of her testimony, while still under cross-examination, the defense continued to point out Kayla did nothing to alert authorities that Harmony was dead.
Did you ask to run in and maybe get some extra napkins to clean up the urine on the seat?
No.
With that smell lingering so bad, did you think maybe to ask if Harmony could go in and clean up?
No.
Nobody wants a person to strike and hurt a child,
Right.
especially a 5-year-old child under your care.
Right.
And you cannot allow that to happen. You can't sit by and allow that to happen, right?
Right.
Okay. But you said that you stopped trying to do anything because he looked at you with the face of pure evil.
Yes.
So you just got scared and shut up, right?
Yes.
Because his face was pure evil, right?
Yes.
And pure evil, a person with pure evil is not someone you want to protect.
No.
And a person who is pure evil is not someone that you love.
Well, that's hard to say.
Okay. A person of pure evil is not someone you want raising your children.
Right.
Okay. And you would do anything to get your kids away from pure evil.
Yes.
And even though Harmony was your child, you felt the same about her.
Yes.
She was pretty much your child.
Yes, I helped take care of her.
Then, while under redirect, she further explained why she stayed with Adam, even referring to her now estranged husband as her best friend.
You said that he was mentally abusive to you. Can you tell the jurors how?
By asking me if I was working with the cops and making sure that I stuck with the story that he brought me to work and dropped me off and was bringing Harmony to her mom.
And can you tell us who came up with that story?
He did. Adam.
And you stuck to it.
Yeah.
You stuck to it even though you knew you weren't working at the time. I'll rephrase. Did you stick to it even though you knew you weren't working at the time?
Yes.
Attorney Smith asked you about Adam being pure evil. Did you think that Adam was pure evil?
when he would start going crazy, yeah.
And you mentioned the evil eyes. When he looked at you in that moment, evil eyes, is that what you said?
Yeah.
And was that right after he'd beaten Harmony?
Yeah, it just got worse.
Were there also good times with the defendant in that period?
Yeah. But it was mostly bad.
And in those bad times, were you hoping for the good times?
Yeah.
Kayla, do you still love the defendant?
I still care about him. Because he's the father of my children. He was my best friend. It's been hard for me to just let go.
Kayla's life continued to spiral after Harmony's death. She's serving time behind bars for lying to grand jurors about Harmony's disappearance. She no longer has rights to her children, and she can't even speak with them. Kayla Montgomery spent nearly 2 full days on the witness stand. Meanwhile, her estranged husband, Adam, was there for none of it. The Adam Montgomery trial is expected to last a few more weeks. In addition to him being on trial for murder, he's also serving out a 60-year sentence on an unrelated weapons charge. If you'd like to see more testimony, you can also stream gavel-to-gavel coverage on our YouTube page. Reporting for Law&Crime, I'm Elizabeth Millner.